How's it going, everyone? It's Juan Romero here from SwitchWatch. Today I've got the Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Trilogy review provided to us by Bandai Namco, so thank you very much to those guys. Let's get straight into the review and find out if this one is worth your hard-earned cash. Let's get into it. The Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Trilogy follows the story of Naruto and Naruto Shippuden anime and manga. The first game opens with the battle between the fourth Hokage and the nine-tailed fox, culminating in the spirit of this beast being sealed within a baby boy. That boy is Naruto. Because the spirit of the nine-tailed fox is locked inside of him, the rest of the Hidden Leaf village shuns him. That changes though when he becomes a genin, a ninja in training. From there you follow Naruto's rise from playing ninja to becoming one of the most dependable ninjas in the Hidden Leaf village. His claim to become the next Hokage slowly transforms from a pipe dream to something a lot more tangible. This package follows the original series, covering all of the major arcs. Now there is a reason why Naruto was one of the most popular anime and manga series, and it wasn't just the excellent battles and animation. The story is very well thought out and realised. Each character is dripping with personality and backstory, and the story overall is clearly the series' biggest strength. The games do a good job of translating it into a fun story to play through. In terms of audio then, it's simply top notch for all three games in the series. All three of them were composed by Chikajo Fukada, and she has done an excellent job. When you think of anime themed games, you don't always associate them with stellar soundtracks, but this Ultimate Ninja Storm Trilogy really has it spot on. What impressed me most was just how much depth there is going on in the soundtracks, ranging from grungy guitar riffs to some rather beautiful efforts with cellos and a piano. It can be epic or it can be dainty. There are some superb dramatic sequences as well as sound effects during the gameplay itself, sounding really fantastic here. I'm very impressed overall, considering the expectations I went into were rather low. I honestly wouldn't be able to separate the three soundtracks into order of greatness since they are all equally impressive. What I did notice was that the confidence in the soundtrack grew over time. The original is rather grounded and safe, but becomes more experimental as the series goes on. There is voice acting here, and it's all fully localized in English, and that's something that's been falling by the wayside these days when games make it from Japan to Western shores. So it's really nice to see that they've gone to the effort in these releases. It's pretty well done too. I didn't find them annoying at any point, which is always a danger when it comes to games like these. But as you can also see in the soundtrack, the production around these games is above and beyond what you would normally expect. Now for those of you wanting to play the game in Japanese, you also have the option to change it in the options and to have English subs if you require them. And this is an excellent addition to the games. In terms of visuals and performance then, all of these games when originally released were beautiful, but the remaster has added extra polish and gleam everywhere. The first one probably shows its age slightly, but that's to be expected. I fully recommend you take a moment to enjoy those loading screens as well. I found the visuals to be stunning in both handheld and in docked mode. What is also really impressive is the way the games run. They are super smooth at 30 frames per second, and I didn't come across any problems which detracted me from the experience in any of the three games. Cutscenes are epic and boss battles look awesome, taking up the whole of the screen in some cases. I love the way you can see the differences in visuals in each game and the art style. The first release being a lot more raw, representative of a young Naruto, with the second becoming more accomplished, having more detail, and the town itself feeling more alive. The cel shading used on the character drawings along with the colours utilised is just fantastic, and as with any fighting games, animations need to be spot on, which they are. I am pleased to say that these improve with each game. If you love the style of the televised series, then the game is a very faithful recreation of the characters. Let's get into the gameplay. Let's start with the modes. First of all, let's cover how they grow through the 3 games. In the first game, you have the Ultimate Mission mode or free battle mode, where you can battle against a computer or friend locally. And these 2 modes run throughout all 3 games, with Ultimate Mission mode name changed to Ultimate Adventure in parts 2 and 3. Now in part 2 and 3, you can also have online battles where you can fight against other people all over the world. Now I would recommend playing online mode in part 3, mostly if this is your preferred mode, as it's a more fully realised online mode, allowing for ranked matches, unranked matches and tournaments. Now you are able to customise which card your character portrays, and these can be unlocked and bought in the town's shops, which is a nice touch. For those that like the free battle modes, again, these are expanded throughout the series. In part 1 it's quite limited, but by part 3 you can play in versus battles, tournaments, practice and take part in some challenge missions. What strikes me about all 3 games is how significant a role the story plays across the trilogy. Now in the past I've seen fighting games trying to implement this type of approach, which always feels like a bit of an afterthought, but not here. This is not your typical fighting game where you fight through 10 rounds, reach the end and you're more or less done. No sir, this has a full story mode in which you'll take part in a number of missions and activities, from exploring the town, chatting with NPCs, taking part in quests and moving the story forward, while also taking part in both team battles and single battles along the way. Now the first game is broken up into a number of key story missions which propel the game forward, and free play missions which are separate to the story. The activities you take part in range from trying to find children, hiding in boxes throughout the town, flying ninja style through trees and running up a tree of course. The battles which sometimes have certain conditions which you must meet, like finishing off with a special move. The Trilogy bundle is fantastic to buy for people new to the series as well, because it allows you to dive in and pick up the story from where this game series starts. As you make your way through each game, the story grows and it feels more confidently told. It feels like the developers also grew with this series. It's a great way to experience the journey. One thing I did find was it was missing a tutorial on how to fight in part 1, which is where I of course started. What I loved about the series is how the combat system evolves through each iteration. Part 1 really laid the foundations of what came after, and the developer was able to build on the first part to make the second and third games feel more fluid. Now the battles are really fun and tight, but I found them hard to get into at first. I had no idea what I was doing. Now you'll have to teach yourself the moves by going into the options menu and seeing how to pull them off for yourself. I recommend you spend time doing this, or it will be difficult for you. Now the moves you can utilise in the first game are massively over the top when you pull off an ultimate move, often taking you out of the experience for a few seconds. I loved successfully pulling them off and it never got old for me. In parts 2 and 3 the moves are still powerful, but they flow much better and the ultimates don't take the player out of the experience for too long. The evolution of the games always moved in a good direction. To become really successful you'll need to practice how all the moves complement each other, the best way to pull off combinations and when to use your ultimate at the right time, but you don't need me to tell you that. Some of the free missions in the first game are broken up into ranks of S, A, B, C and D, with S being the hardest ones to finish, and I found some to be really difficult even in normal difficulty. You will need to complete battles with certain conditions, such as successfully activating special moves at certain times or using an alternate move to finish off a character. Now if you don't learn how to use these skills, you'll never complete these missions, so it does require patience and of course practice. Now in part 1, missions can be accessed from the mission menu, so you can choose side missions or main story missions. Some of the main missions will require a certain amount of XP to access them, and certain side missions will have to be unlocked first. The XP can only be gained through side missions to open up some of the main story ones. Now part 2 and 3 handles the mission structure differently in that you don't have the same type of flexibility, and some will prefer this, others won't. Those are controls, combos and special moves. They're all easy to wrap your head around, but using them all together is of course difficult to master. You have your basic attacks, which are your physical punches and kicks. What combos you perform change depending on if you are running, moving or standing still, and there are some more complicated combos that you can pull off by mixing in a direction with your standard attacks. You also have the ability to throw shurikens, which can be combined with your jumps to do some interesting things with your movement. To mix things up further, team battles add 2 other AI players who you can tag into battles by pressing L or R, and can even be used together to pull off team moves, which are great entertainment. If you double tap the jump button, you'll do a dash towards your opponent and if you connect, you will stun your enemy, opening them up for a combo. There is also a chakra button which activates a blue aura around your character. This is how you activate special moves using your chakra, and pressing the attack or shuriken buttons will activate a special move. Double pressing the jump in this mode makes you perform a run move that will deflect shurikens. It will home in all the way to your opponent, which is much more effective than your standard dash move. In parts 2 and 3 there are some awesome boss battles which require pressing buttons at the right time. In the latter games this evolves to where the quicker you press the buttons, the more secret little story scenes will unlock by you getting stars. It's fantastic. In part 3 there are parts of the game where you can choose whether to go down the legend or hero route, and you choose a path, with legend paths often being more difficult but also more rewarding. There are parts where you have to take out multiple enemies and rooms, stringing moves together and throwing in mini button games to keep the combos and flow of attacks going, and this was a fantastic change up as it was different to your normal battle matches and was really fun. Now games 2 and 3 are both a lot more story heavy, with many more dialogue and cutscene sections, and traversing the maps was also similar. I had no trouble with the games trying different things as it kept them fresh and kept me entertained and interested. Items are also used in battles, and you can use the D-pad to activate whichever items are assigned. You may need to chuck a bomb or gain a little health boost, for example. An awakening in battle also gives you an advantage and is activated when your life bar is nearly drained. Some characters are boosted with extra attack power or speed in this state. Now all 3 games share these mechanics, but each one builds on them significantly from the first game. The most notable differences are quite minute, but they are quite significant as well. The controls get tighter through each iteration, and the games get better at locking your attacks onto your opponent, which reduces some of the first game's frustrations from missed attacks which cropped up sporadically. The character rosters also grow with each game iteration, adding more for you to choose from for your online battles or just your free battle mode. The camera movement and positioning also improves, making the experience get better and better as you progress through the series. Some of you may want the game for online battles or free battles, and if that's the case you're probably better off with part 3, as it's the more accomplished fighting game in my experience. Be aware if you want to fight friends online though that the only option you have is to set up a session. The problem with that is if someone else enters that session you have to keep kicking them out until your friend finds you. Now this easily could be rectified, allowing players to set up private sessions. Otherwise online was stable, ran pretty well. I personally had more luck finding online fighters in part 3 though rather than part 2, which is to be expected as it's the newer game out of the series. Let's move on to value. Now if you're in the UK you might want to listen closely. At £44.99 this Ultimate Ninja Storm Trilogy represents great value, but you can get it even cheaper from the USA eShop, where this is priced at only $39.99. So not only is it cheaper in dollars, but with today's exchange rate you save yourself about £16 because it will cost you about £29 in total. Now you're getting all 3 games for the price of one, and not only that, they're huge games to boot. For full completionists out there, you're looking at 100 hours out of this collection, and even if you're not into that sort of thing but want to play the standard stories and then just complete them like that, you're looking at 45 hours or so for all 3 games, and that's not even including all the other modes you may want to play like online or free battle. So moving on to my verdict, if you're a fan of the Naruto anime, this is an essential purchase. It's a wonderful remaster and is brilliant for fans of the series. Even if you're coming into this fresh for the very first time, it's easy for me to recommend. There's something here for everyone. If you like great stories, then there's a lot to love here. If you like battling online or locally against a friend, then the game has you covered. It includes a great soundtrack, the ability to play the game in English or Japanese with beautiful visuals, and it's very difficult to argue with the value here. Most of all, the game is just plain fun, whatever you decided to do within it. This then all told is just too good to pass up on the Switch. I'll be enjoying adventures with Naruto wherever I go, and you should do too. A 9 out of 10. If you enjoyed this review guys, which I hope you did, then please hit that thumbs up button. It really just lets us know whether you enjoyed the video or not. And if you're a new watcher here, then why not consider subscribing to our channel for more reviews like this one, or gameplay videos, whatever it is you enjoy. We cover everything Switch here. I also just want to take this opportunity to thank both Jordan and Lachlan, who both purchased this game with their own money, and it was really helpful to understand what their opinions were as well as mine. Also, what was really good about this is they helped with parts of the review, and if you want more detail, then head on over to switchwatch.co.uk, because the written review is slightly larger than this video review, because it's just impossible to fit it all in without it going into a huge amount of time. So if you want to leave me a comment down below, let me know your thoughts on this. Have you already bought the game? Are you looking to buy the game? Or has this review swayed your opinion to go and buy the game? Or have you already got it? Let me know what you think of this trilogy or the standalone games, whatever you want to do, and I'll do my best to reply. My name is Juan Romero. Really hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll see you again on the next one. Take care.